They claim to be real-life raiders of the Lost Ark. A group of Chinese explorers say they found Noah's famed boat, and Sydney-siders will be among the first to see inside.
In the rugged terrain of Turkey, something huge just happened. They found Noah's Ark. People are shocked because it's proof of a famous old story. But there's an even bigger surprise. Inside the Ark, there's a mystery that's hard to understand. It's so confusing that it's making people question their beliefs and what they know. We'll explore why Turkey shut down Noah's Ark after opening it and finding something astonishing: the new discovery. The world is excited about a discovery happening at the Durapinar Formation in Turkey.
It's real smooth. See that piece over there? I can't see how far it goes, though, because it's covered in ice.
A team of researchers from Turkish and American colleges known as the Mount Ararat and Noah's Ark Research Team is digging into the earth, uncovering clues that could solve one of history's biggest puzzles. Stories have circulated for centuries suggesting that this site might hold remnants of Noah's Ark, a legendary ship mentioned in the holy books of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. This site, measuring about 515 feet long, 85 feet wide, and 49 feet tall by American standards, is fascinating because of its unique shape and size. The artifacts found at Durapinar paint a vivid picture of a long-gone era, dating back to between 5,500 and 3,000 BC. Among the discoveries are traces of clay-like substances, marine skeletons, and remains of ancient seafood.
Have you ever seen anything like this? Look at the grain in this thing. It almost looks like wood.
Indicating that a thriving ancient civilization once existed here. These findings raise the exciting possibility that Durapinar could indeed hold the key to unlocking the secrets of Noah's Ark. Many expeditions have gone to Mount Ararat over the centuries in search of Noah's Ark, but the truth has remained elusive. The quest for solid evidence has been challenging, with conflicting stories and inconclusive proof. However, the recent discoveries at Durapinar have reinvigorated the search. With collaborative efforts and advances in technology, we are getting closer to unraveling the biblical flood narrative. Despite these exciting developments, scholars and scientists urge caution, emphasizing the need for thorough investigation and careful consideration before jumping to conclusions. As the sun sets, casting a warm glow over the landscape, the shadow of the Ark serves as a silent reminder of the mysteries waiting to be revealed. The magnificent model of Noah's Ark. In a special place in Kentucky, something interesting is happening, catching the attention of people from all over. Leading this big project is a man named Ken Ham, who heads a group called Answers in Genesis. What are they up to? They're building a theme park called the Ark Encounter, but it's not just any theme park. At the center of it all is a huge resemblance to Noah's Ark, spreading across a staggering 800 acres, even bigger than Disneyland. Every year, about 1.5 million curious individuals come to this special place in northern Kentucky to see what it's all about. The Ark itself is a marvel of modern engineering, built to match the exact size described in the Bible. A massive 510 feet long, 85 feet wide, and towering 51 feet high. Inside, visitors go on a journey through time, exploring 3 levels filled with interesting displays that take them back to Noah's days. They get a glimpse of life before the big flood, what it was like living on the Ark, and what happened after the waters dried up. It's like stepping right into the story and seeing it all up close. Ken Ham has big dreams for the Ark Encounter, and he's not stopping anytime soon. He envisions adding more exciting things like the Tower of Babel and a similar ancient Jerusalem from Jesus' time. Imagine a ride at the Tower of Babel, similar to Disney's Haunted Mansion, full of thrills and adventures that spark your imagination. But the Ark Encounter is more than just a fun place to visit. It's always evolving. Every year, there's something new to see and do, like getting up close with animals or enjoying beautiful Christmas lights. There are even exciting buildings where you can walk under the wings of giant birds. Behind the scenes, they're working on hydroponics, a way to grow plants without soil to help the environment. They've also made sure their staff have everything they need to do their jobs well. Bringing the Ark Encounter to life hasn't been easy. They've faced money problems, had debates with people involved, and had to plan every detail carefully. But with hard work and teamwork, they've made their big dream come true. Thanks to investments, support from the government, and the dedication of everyone involved, the Ark Encounter is now a reality. As the Ark Encounter continues to excite visitors, its impact reaches far beyond its borders. And as the story unfolds, there's a discovery near Mount Ararat that could challenge what we've always believed and spark even more curiosity. The story of Noah's Ark. In the middle of the Ark's astonishing design was one special door. It was placed carefully, probably on its side. This door was extremely important because it was the only way in and out. It let Noah's family, all kinds of animals, and important supplies get onto the Ark. Once everyone was safely inside, the door was closed tight, keeping them safe from the huge flood that was coming. The story of Noah's Ark is like something out of an adventure book, especially when the Great Flood hits. This wasn't just any rainstorm. It was a massive flood, raining hard for 40 days and nights. The water covered everything, even the tallest mountains, turning the world into a big ocean. But in the middle of all that chaos, the Ark was like a haven. It stood strong in the storm, giving hope to everyone inside. Noah, his family, and all the animals were warm and comfortable inside, even as the Ark rocked back and forth on the waves. Life kept going on inside the Ark, thanks to their strong belief in God and His protection. As the floodwaters kept rising, the Ark floated on top, like a big boat in a vast ocean. For a whopping 150 days, they sailed through the water, proving how tough people can be when they have faith and trust in something bigger than themselves. When the floodwaters started to go down, showing a world that looked different, the Ark stopped on the rough top of the mountains of Ararat. It stayed there like a sign of hope and starting fresh. But the journey wasn't done yet. After the flood, Noah and his crew had to wait for a long time for the waters to go back to normal. It took about a year from when the flood began until they could finally leave the Ark. During that time, they had to be patient and wait for the land to appear again, knowing that a new beginning was on the horizon. The story of Noah's Ark is more than just a tale. It's about people being strong when things get tough and believing in something greater than themselves. Even now, it still inspires us, showing that faith and hope can overcome any challenge. And when we think about that old story, the door of the Ark reminds us that there's always a way out, even in the hardest times. The ultimate search. For many, many years, people have been trying to find real proof that Noah's Ark existed. This has interested archaeologists, historians, and religious scholars who want to uncover the truth. The mountains of Ararat, with their tall peaks and rough land, hold on to secrets from ancient times, making people curious to explore them. The search for Noah's Ark has been passed down through families, leading to lots of ideas and many trips to find it. One interesting part of this search is looking at stories from other cultures about big floods, like the Epic of Gilgamesh. This old story from Mesopotamia tells of a man named Utnapishtim, who was warned about a flood that would destroy everything. Like Noah, he was told by a higher power to build a big boat. Utnapishtim's boat was said to be a huge cube with 6 levels. Both Utnapishtim and Noah sent out birds to see if the floodwaters were going down. Utnapishtim sent out a dove, a swallow, and a crow, while Noah sent out a raven and then a dove. When the birds returned with signs of land, it gave them hope that life could start again. These stories give us some hints about where these famous boats might be. The Epic of Gilgamesh says Utnapishtim's boat ended up on Mount Nasir, possibly in Iraq or Iran. On the other hand, the Bible says Noah's Ark landed on the mountains of Ararat in Turkey. Mount Ararat has become a place where people go every year to search for clues about Noah's Ark. Even though there's no solid proof yet, just being there and imagining finding the famous boat is exciting. This keeps adventurers and scientists interested in digging deeper into history's records. The hunt for Noah's Ark isn't just about exploring. It's also about believing in something, looking into old stories and using science to find answers. As people keep looking, the line between what's real and what's a story gets blurry, uncovering secrets from ancient times. There are different ideas about where the Ark might be, with Mount Nasir being one possibility besides Mount Ararat, which gets a lot of attention. People go on all kinds of trips to these mountains, from easy hikes to well-planned expeditions using fancy technology to scan and study everything. But even with all the effort, it's still hard to say for sure if Noah's Ark was really on Mount Ararat. There are lots of challenges like the tough land, unpredictable weather, and political stuff to deal with. Plus, over time, anything left of the Ark could have broken down or been covered up by nature. Still, the spirit of exploration keeps pushing people forward, reminding us that searching for Noah's Ark is like taking a journey through time, faith, and the mystery of what we don't know yet. The final destination of Noah's Ark. David Allen Diehl has a really interesting idea about where Noah's Ark ended up. Instead of agreeing with the usual story that it landed on Mount Ararat, he thinks it might have come to rest on a mountain called Mashu, or Mesha Mountain, which is about 17 miles south of Mount Ararat. Diehl gets his idea from old texts like the Epic of Gilgamesh and by looking at the names of nearby places. He thinks the Ark first landed on a high spot on Mesha Mountain, which stands about 7,400 feet tall. In his theory, he says Noah and his family started a new town after the big flood, and they called it Mesha Naksuan. They used parts of the Ark to build their houses, like the wood for building and the tar to keep their roofs from leaking. Over time, things like earthquakes and erosion made the Ark move down the mountain, leaving signs behind. Diehl's idea goes into a lot of detail. He thinks the survivors used bits of the Ark to make their homes, using the wood for building and the tar to keep their roofs dry. The names of nearby places like Mesha, which means pulled out of the water, and Naksuan, which Diehl says means Noah's Zion, seem to back up his theory. Also, the way Mesha Mountain looks, with its two peaks that look like a big wall, matches what's described in the Epic of Gilgamesh, which Diehl thinks adds more proof to his idea. He even went to the area in 1996 and 1997 and found old places where people might have lived long ago. He saw the landforms that match where he thinks the Ark landed. He looked at old pictures and things from the Bible story of Noah's Ark, including one of a woman named Naamah, who he thought might be connected to the mountain where the Ark landed. These discoveries hint at a link between the old story and the Bible's tale of Noah's Ark. Even though his idea is detailed and makes sense, it's just one of many guesses about where the Ark ended up. Scientists say we need to look into it more and study it carefully before we can say for sure if it's true. When we're trying to figure out old mysteries, especially ones connected to ancient stories and beliefs, it's really important to look closely at the evidence and examine everything carefully. The stories from Mesha Mountain make us curious about what else we might find from long ago. Understanding this ancient flooding in the light of modern science. In the exciting times of the 1970s and 1980s, an adventurous American explorer named Ron Wyatt was drawn to a special place. Leading many missions with advanced tools like metal detectors and radar, Wyatt and his team found many mysterious objects underground, hinting at structures built by humans. One of the most intriguing finds was stones near the site, with holes in the top. These holes looked like ones used to tie down ships in rough waters, making people think this place could be where Noah's Ark ended up. These stones were important because they matched how ancient ships were secured, suggesting this site wasn't just a natural formation. The stones seemed to show a clear image of a boat made to survive wild seas, similar to the Ark in the Bible. This mix of old stories and new technology sparked new interest in finding the Ark. Archaeologists, religious scholars, and people who love history all kept a close eye on the Dura-Pinar site, hoping it might solve one of history's biggest mysteries. In the 1990s, geologists William Ryan and Walter Pittman took on a mission to connect the biblical story of Noah's Ark with a real ancient flood. They focused on the Black Sea, a unique body of water hiding its secrets. Using advanced technology, they found strong evidence that the salt levels in the sea bottom changed a lot and quickly in the past. This change showed that a lot of rainwater had flowed into what used to be a lake with salty water, turning it into a sea. Ryan and Pittman carefully studied this transformation, using strict methods to look at how the land had been affected by rain, how new layers of dirt had formed, and how the saltiness of the water changed when the seawater mixed in. They used radiocarbon dating to figure out how old things like shells, wood, and bones found in the dirt were. By taking samples from the bottom of the sea, they could see how the layers of dirt and what they were made of had changed over thousands of years. When they compared these scientific findings with stories from ancient cultures like the Sumerians, Babylonians, Greeks, and Romans, they found something interesting. These old civilizations had stories about big floods that destroyed everything. Ryan and Pittman thought that maybe these stories were about a time when rising water broke through a natural barrier at the Bosporus Strait, causing a huge flood as the last ice age ended and the ice melted. This would have caused the Mediterranean Sea to mix with the Black Sea, making it much bigger and covering more land, which might have forced people to move to new places. Their study not only supported the idea of a big flood happening, but it also matched up with the timelines of when these ancient cultures said their floods happened. Some people think this huge event might be what inspired the story of Noah's Ark and other old stories, adding a really interesting piece to our understanding of history. The hidden journey beneath the Black Sea. Recent studies have found more than just layers of dirt in the Black Sea. Deep down in its waters, there are the remains of old civilizations, including buildings and tools, showing that people used to live where the sea is now. This discovery has gotten the attention of historians, archaeologists, and religious scholars, and it's made people more interested in the area, especially because of its connections to old myths. These scholars aren't just looking at old stories and facts about rocks and dirt. They're carefully putting together the stories and connecting the underwater cities in the Black Sea to what might have happened in history. Mount Ararat has long been a big deal in the search for Noah's Ark, but now there are other places that people are looking at too. The Zagros Mountains, found in western Iran, eastern Iraq, and southern Turkey, could be where the Ark landed. Some scientists say Mount Ararat might not be the right place because it formed after the big flood in the Bible. But the Zagros Mountains are closer to Mesopotamia, where Noah's family settled after the flood, according to the Bible. Plus, these mountains have peaks higher than the height the Bible says the floodwater reached, which makes them seem like a good fit. They're also easier to get to compared to Mount Ararat, which is icy and hard to climb. Historical records and looking at the names of places in old texts have pointed to specific peaks in the Zagros range, like Mount Judi or Kuyunjik in northern Iraq, Mount Pir Omar Gudin in southern Iraq, and Mount Lubar in southwestern Iran, as places where Noah's Ark might have landed. Another place people are looking at in the search for Noah's Ark is the Pamir Mountains. These mountains are huge and rugged, found in Central Asia, and are often called the roof of the world because they are so high up. Some people, like biblical experts and brave explorers, think that maybe the Pamir Mountains are where Noah's Ark landed, as the Bible suggests in Genesis 8. 4. This idea says that when the flood happened, the water might have reached the Pamir Mountains, which connect to other big mountain ranges like the Tian Han, Karakoram, Kunlun, Hindu Kush, and the Himalayas. Many different civilizations and cultures have lived in the Pamir Mountains over time, including the Sumerians, Babylonians, Persians, Greeks, Mongols, and Turks. Even though they all have their own stories about the Big Flood, they all seem to point back to the same event, showing that they remember something big happening in the past. The Pamir Mountains are home to a lot of different plants and animals, which makes some people think that maybe the Ark had all sorts of plants and animals on it, or that it could have been a place where new species started to evolve after the flood. Even though it's really hard to find Noah's Ark in the Pamir Mountains because of all the ice, snow, rocks, and dirt, there are still people who believe that the Ark is there, hidden away. Even though some people have doubts, there are still scholars who are determined to find the Ark. They're using modern tools and knowledge, hoping that they'll uncover the secrets hidden in the Pamir Mountains. Despite not knowing for sure and facing challenges, these scholars keep going, believing that one day the truth about Noah's Ark will come out from the mysterious depths of the Pamir Mountains. Secret of Ararat. In 2003, a satellite took a picture of a certain spot that got people interested, known as the Ararat Departure. In this picture, there was a long thing that looked a lot like Noah's Ark. Even though it looked similar, nobody has gone to check it out more. It's important to remember that even though these pictures are cool, they don't prove for sure that Noah's Ark is on Mount Ararat. The things in the pictures might just be rocks, not the Ark, which has made people not want to look into it more. In April 2010, a group of Christian explorers from Noah's Ark Ministries International said they found proof of Noah's Ark on Mount Ararat. They said they found it in a big valley on the mountain's south side during a trip 2 years before. Even though this got people excited, scientists were careful about believing it. But some archaeologists think they might have found Noah's Ark. A team of scholars from Turkey and America spent almost a year looking at the rocks and dirt on Mount Ararat, which is Turkey's tallest mountain. They focused only on looking for the remains of Noah's Ark. The latest studies by these scholars suggest there might have been people living near the spot that looks like a boat on the mountainside. This fits with a time long ago, between 5,500 to 3,000 BC. Professor Farooq Kaya, the vice rector at AICU, talked about how important their findings are. He said that studying the rocks and soil from this special area on the mountain shows that people might have lived there after Noah's Ark's flood. Even though finding signs of people near the Durupinar Formation is interesting, it doesn't prove for sure that the story in the Bible about Noah's Ark is true. Many people have thought that this place could be where Noah's Ark ended up, and it has gotten a lot of attention from people who want to solve this ancient mystery. However, archaeologists say that the formation is natural and not a shipwreck. They also say that there's no solid proof of a big flood like the one described in religious stories, though some think there might have been a smaller flood in the area, but not everyone agrees. The researchers admit that they can't say for certain that the Durupinar site is where Noah's Ark was. Another interesting point is the ongoing debate about how big and what kind of boat Noah's Ark was. The Bible gives measurements, but people have different ideas, with some saying it was huge and could hold thousands of animals, while others think it was smaller. The search for Noah's Ark has led to many adventures and captured the imagination of explorers for a long time. There are stories of both finding clues and being disappointed, all adding to the history of the search. Even with all the challenges and things we're not sure about, people are still fascinated by the mystery of Noah's Ark. This shows how much people are interested in ancient stories and religious tales, scientific doubt and religious certainty. In the ongoing debate about whether a Chinese team found Noah's Ark, American scientists are questioning if the evidence is real. They say the wood samples they looked at aren't old enough to prove they're from the ancient Ark, but the Chinese team is sure they found it, saying they're 99% certain. They believe the Ark they found is the same one Noah built about 48,000 years ago, with 3 floors, big rooms, and strong wooden pillars. Even though people have been talking about it a lot and checking it out, some still have doubts. Newspapers in Arab countries are also talking about this big discovery and what it means in history and religion. The Chinese and Turkish Christian teams didn't just look at physical evidence. They also studied verses from the Holy Quran that talk about Noah's journey with the Ark. These verses led them to search around Mount Ararat for about 20 years. During a press meeting, a Chinese expert named Dean Chen talked about what they found. He said the inside of the Ark had rooms as high as 5 meters, which gave animals lots of space. They used a special dating technology to guess the Ark's age at 4,800 years, but they couldn't open the boxes they found inside the ship during their first look. The idea that Noah's Ark has been found isn't new. People have been talking about it since World War II. A British soldier named Leonard was really into history and digging up old stuff in Iraq. He found a tablet with ancient writing on it, and a British archaeologist named Irving Finkel took a look. What Finkel discovered was amazing. The tablet told a story about how people were really bad, so God decided to flood everything. But there was this one good guy named Noah who lived in the Tigris and Euphrates Valley. God told Noah to build a huge boat that could fit good people and 2 of every animal. The tablet was about 4,000 years old and matched up with stories in religion. Some people doubted if these stories were real, but finding this tablet makes those stories seem more believable. What's interesting is that the tablet said Noah's Ark wasn't long and flat, but shaped more like an egg. This was a common design for boats in Noah's time on the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. In the Holy Quran, there's a verse in Surah Hud that talks about Noah's Ark ending up on a tall mountain called Mount Judi. People from Iraq and Syria, back when Babylon was around, thought Mount Judi, near the island of Ibn Omar, was where Noah's Ark landed. Muslim historians agree with this, but Christian missionaries believe it landed on Mount Ararat, which is on the border of Armenia and Turkey. The story of Noah, Muslims' perspective. In Islamic tradition, Mount Judi is believed to be the spot where Noah, also known as Hazrat Noah, landed after the Great Flood. Hazrat Noah is a very important figure in Islam. He's considered the second Adam among the prophets, and his story is mentioned 73 times in the Holy Quran. He holds the record for being the longest-lived prophet, living a remarkable 900 years. Hazrat Noah was sent as a prophet to the people of an ancient land, which is now Iraq. Even though the people there didn't listen to him and kept disobeying, Hazrat Noah stayed faithful to Allah. When Allah told him to build a huge boat, Hazrat Noah didn't hesitate. It took him over 2 years to finish building the ark, but he did it. This massive boat was the only way to survive the terrible punishment that was coming, a punishment of never-ending rain and water gushing up from the ground, flooding everything. The ark floated on the water for an incredible 6 months and 8 days before finally coming to rest on Mount Judi on the 10th of Muharram. Once the floodwaters started to go down and the land began to show again, Hazrat Noah got to work rebuilding everything. He even started a new city called Khorasan and built a mosque called the Sanyi Mosque, marking the beginning of a fresh start. After the flood, Hazrat Noah lived for another 60 years. His legacy is still remembered today, especially at his shrine in Lebanon. This shrine is a symbol of his strength and the guidance he received from Allah. It reminds people of the important mission he had and the incredible events that happened during the Great Flood. Which of these discoveries intrigue you the most? Let us know in the comments below.